call the regular council meeting for the town of Bay-Westfield on November 22nd, 2021 to order at 7 o'clock p.m. We respectfully acknowledge that Bay-Westfield exists on the traditional Woolstoke Way land. The lands of Wabanaki people are recognized in a series of peace and friendship treaties to establish an ongoing relationship of peace, friendship, and mutual respect between equal nations. The river that runs by our town is known as Woolstoke, along which live Woolstoke Way, the people of the beautiful and bountiful river. We, the staff and elected representatives, pay respect to the elders past and present and descendants of this land. Good evening, everyone. Last week, the government of New Brunswick released its white paper on local government reform, titled Working Together for Vibrant and Sustainable Communities. Our province has gone from over 340 local government entities to 90, 78 municipalities, and 12 rural districts. This is a necessary change for the financial sustainability of our province. It is a wide-ranging document affecting whom, what, and how we will govern going forward. Our boundaries as a town have been expanded. In addition to our new residents, in November 2022, we will welcome at least one new councillor to this table to represent the interests of our new neighbours and our community as a whole. Local government reform is an endeavour that has been much needed, but the process of implementation will be contentious. The reform will take commitment, time, and patience. The reforms will apply to us within all four pillars the white paper has sought to address: local government structure, land use planning, finance, and regional collaboration. How this will affect us and the people included within our new boundaries remains to be seen in a number of different ways. The white paper has laid out a framework from which to start, but we still have more questions than answers at this point. All of the implications are not yet known, organizationally, socially, and financially. Our borders are expanding to include 75% of the LSD of Westfield West. Our regional service commissions are the beneficiaries of an expanded mandate for regional cooperation and service delivery. There will now be provincial statements of public interest and regional land use plans, which will assist issues such as urban sprawl and climate adaptation. We still await more information on Phase 2 of financing local government, which should roll out in 2025. We are awaiting more information on the new format for the Community Funding Equalization Grant, which, as you may be aware, has affected us substantially going into 2022. We have not as yet received all the tax tools we have advocated and hoped for, such as the freedom to have varied tax classes in the residential tax base. These are tools for growth, and we had hoped to see robust changes in this regard with the initial rollout of the plan. Some non-residential property tax variances have been allowed, and this is a step in the right direction, but we do need to go further. I am encouraged to see that discussion is continuing on the subject of financing municipalities. We supply most of the services that people receive and need access to the funding we need to thrive in the way I know we can. Our way ahead may not always be crystal clear in this process, but we will continue to work to determine if there are additional opportunities to consider, and we will continue to advocate for changes within the plan that will benefit Bay-Westfield and its people. Thank you. Item 4, record of attendance. Let the record reflect that we have full attendance around the council table tonight. Thank you, councillors. Item 5, agenda approval. The motion is that the council of the town of Bay-Westfield approve the agenda of November 22nd, 2021 as presented. Thank you, Councillor Balcom. May I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Bailman. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 6, disclosure of conflict of interest. Is there any? There being none. Item 7 is public hearings. There being none, we'll move on to item 8, minutes of previous meeting. 8A, regular council meetings of November 8th, 2021. The motion is that the council of the town of Bay-Westfield adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of November 8th, 2021 as presented. So we have a motion. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jewell. Second. Thank you, Councillor Day. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Item 8B, special meeting of council, November 16th, 2021. The motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield adopt the minutes of the special meeting of council held November 16th, 2021 as presented. You have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Day. Second. Thank you, Councillor Balcom. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Item 9 is unfinished business. There being none, we'll
Your
move
worship,
on.
I have a question
Yes.
with regard to the agenda. Are we getting a presentation from Shyla Boucher? No, all right, okay. Because it was listed on the thing.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, I think that was struck from the agenda prior. So item 10, bylaws. 10A is zoning bylaw amendment number 122A, and that's third reading by title and enactment. Zoning bylaw 122A, amendment to the zoning bylaw. That the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield approve the third reading by title and enactment of zoning bylaw 122A, amendment to the zoning bylaw. You have a motion? Thank you, Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. We have a second, Councillor Day, thank you. I will get David to give an overview of the changes to the zoning bylaw.
Most of them are housekeeping items. The biggest addition is the overlay of the flood zone, which has been identified through research last year by Dylan Consultant, and it highlights properties that would be affected within 7.4 meters of the geodetic watermark. So it doesn't affect any existing properties. It is there for new development. There's a section in the bylaw that talks about how you would deal with existing buildings, and as long as it doesn't reduce the elevation that's being put forward, there's no change at all for existing homeowners. If you were to increase the footprint, it sets out sort of how much you can increase that footprint, even though you might be below that elevation. And it's just to provide everyone security in moving forward with the higher water elevations that we might experience.
Right, it's meant to promote sustainable development in the face of climate adaptation.
Right.
So with the flood overlay zone, is the province is coming out with one of their own in the next little while, is that?
They were working on it for the whole province, and we did have access to their information, but the specific report was specific to our locality.
To our area. Thank you, David. And I just want to highlight too that the 7.4 meter minimum elevation is not just, so when we think about flooding, we came to, what was the maximum, David, last time?
It was 5.87.
Right.
So the basis of the elevation is 6.4 meters in actual water rise. The
Yes.
extra meter is to accommodate different wind patterns, flowing water, whichever direction it's coming from. It can affect different properties in different ways.
Right, because I think, I've said this before, in 2018, we were lucky that the wind went the other way. So, but in 2019, it came our way. We really could see the difference in terms of damage to some of the houses along the flood zone. And the wind wasn't even really that bad. So if we had a combination of a wind event and a flood, it could be devastating to new construction. So it's really just responsible to develop in a way that matches what's happening with climate change. Do we have any questions or comments from council? John?
I'm curious why they went by the old elevations. Some of the old elevations, new elevations says 2013. Why they go with the old elevations? But some people are saying it won't match up with the new elevations.
John? Did
You're gonna have to defer to the development
I'm
officer.
not sure what different
Well,
elevations.
the elevation you give us is back in the old style, say it's the CGV D28, the new one's CGV D2013. That's the new one, so I talked to surveyor, and he said in St. John, sometimes they have the old elevation, the new elevation, they don't match up. Because they're going different layers, right? So the new elevation is a little lower than the old one.
They would be using the most recent elevation.
So that's what we were using the old ones up. Going by the old standards, like the markers. Right?
We'll follow up with
Yeah.
Dylan to ask him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Dylan, so.
Thank you, John. We have any other questions? Deputy Mayor Toole?
My question was just to, you can explain a bit if there's any impact on current homeowners, but David answered that one. So it's mainly for responsible, sustainable future development. So it's something I know we did talk quite a bit about as a council, and I think especially seeing what's going on in BC and other places right now, we can see the rationale for having this type of flood overlay zone. But thank you, I do appreciate that David did give an indication that current homeowners, because it's quite a large zone, that flood overlay zone, that there isn't an impact on the current developments, it's future development needs. I just wanted to appreciate it.
Thank you. David, there's also another question about why with the I think it's the on 14.1.223, why is it being changed to a second unit dwelling on lots fronting onto Nericus Road? Can you explain that?
That comes from the review that was done, the municipal plan review, and it was in the draft wording that was being brought forward, but the actual text that was adopted missed it, so that's why I call it a housekeeping
Okay.
item. It tries to keep in line with the Community Planning Act, trying to keep properties developed that have frontage on a public street. Those particular lots are recognized as being generally very, very large lots, and they extend across Highway 7. So it gives that ability to share that frontage with those lots.
Thank you, David.
Your Worship, a question for the development officer. How often are these development bylaws changed? It looks like we're doing a lot of cleanup and housekeeping from previous years.
It's generally based on a 10-year review.
Right.
So the previous zoning bylaw was enacted in 2009, and this came into effect in September 2020. And the amendments is, again, it's a combination of some housekeeping items and some new items that
So
are
new items. So we can anticipate occasionally every year a new amendment if something surfaces.
There could be amendments, and we're obviously looking at a time frame within the 5-6 year period of making sure that our new plan gets adopted for the new conditions that we'll face after this planning session ends.
John?
Your Worship, Councillor, it's quite normal, and there's always housekeeping that needs to be done because you realize you missed something, or there's deficiencies identified. Oh, we didn't address this, or we find out that we may have a problem or something like that. You know, how do we deal with it? And so it's quite common, and I encourage our development officer and the planning consultant to make sure that we stay on top of this. Back in Battleford, we did this annually. There's always something that we did on the zoning bylaw to make sure that it was current. And if there are issues identified, working with developers, that we address them.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Councillor Malcolm. Do we have any further questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, Council. Item 10B, Traffic Bylaw Amendment 80H, third reading by title and enactment. Traffic Bylaw Amendment 80H, amendment to the traffic bylaw. That the council of the town of Bay-Westfield approve the third reading by title and enactment of traffic bylaw amendment 80H, amendment to the traffic bylaw. May I have a motion? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. May I have a second? Thank you, Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. John, can we get Bruce to speak to this?
Yeah, this is the installation of the stop sign. I'll let our Works Commissioner speak to the details.
Thank you.
Yeah, we received a couple of complaints, and I guess it's at the intersection of Bayview, Ashland Lane, and Beach. There's never been an active stop sign there since then, so there's no stop sign there, and again, to manage that or to correct that, we're doing the bylaw, because you just can't put up a speed sign to become regulatory until they're a bylaw. So we're putting up a three-way stop at that intersection, just to slow people down before they come up and make that corner, because we got Ashland Lane coming in, Beach Road coming in, Bayview coming in. This is just a way to clarify that and keep everybody safe at the intersection.
Yes, John?
I was just gonna add, Your Worship, the Works Department already installed the posts. We just need to attach the signs to the posts at this point.
Thank you. Yeah, and I live in that neck of the woods, so I know the hazard that so does Deputy Mayor Toole, we know the hazard that particular intersection provides, so. And I believe there was a traffic study done there as well, further, reinforcing the need for the stop signs, so. Have any questions or comments on the motion? All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried, thank you. Item 10C, and that's the sanitary wastewater system bylaw amendment, bylaw number 20A. Third reading by title and enactment. Sanitary wastewater system bylaw amendment, bylaw number 20A. That the council of the town of Bay-Westfield approve the third reading by title and enactment of sanitary wastewater system bylaw amendment, bylaw number 20A. I have a motion. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. Thank you, Councillor Day. Thank you very much. I know we've talked about this a lot. When we passed the budget last week, I think it was, about how the user fee had been changed significantly since 2007, I think it was.
One change since 2000.
One change since 2007. You know, if we had kept up with the Bank of Canada inflation calculator, our actual rate should be $344 per year. We have debentures coming online. We have inflation to deal with. We have lowered reserves. We need to make sure that, and of course, the utility has to be self-sustaining by legislation. So it's it's something that we can't. It's been kicked down the road. Previous years, we can't do it anymore. So that's one of the reasons that we had to make this decision, and why this is a responsible way of dealing with our utility for the future use of it for future generations and for the growth of our town.
The thing, Your Worship, is we didn't increase the cost. We were able to make do with what we had. We can't do that anymore. And you mentioned the debenture.
Yes.
And we cannot go in the hole with this utility. So as a result, this council has had to increase it. And it could be a lot worse, but it's still reasonable. And the thought, and I know that the town staff were looking into being able to pay it monthly instead of being hit with $325, or I can't remember exactly how many dollars it is at one time, to assist those who would find that hard to come by.
Yeah, you're right, Councillor Day, and being able to do it's it's a net increase of $3.33 per month over the course of the year, and it's a lot more manageable that way.
Well, I'll tell you, for $3.33, there'd be a lot of people complaining if they were having septic issues in our town sewer system.
Do we have any other comments or questions on the motion? John?
I just have a question just for the people watching. Could maybe John, through your worship, explain what it means for this utility to be self-sustainable by legislation?
Yeah, so, I'll let the CFO correct me where I go wrong. It has to pay for itself. That means whoever is on the system, uses the system, they're responsible for paying the cost of it in its entirety. No money whatsoever can come from general reserves. So everything, debentures, the $100,000 of proposed capital work this year, all that has to be paid for by the users. It's a simple formula really. And the part that's different here in Bay-Westfield than say other parts in the province and across the country is that often when you think of user pay, it's also the volume. So when you go to other jurisdictions, if there is a water system in place, your sanitary sewer fee would be based on the volume of water that you consume as well, because some of it automatically goes down the drain. Okay. Here we don't have water. However, you can also purchase sensors to understand how much wastewater is actually going through the system and then charge people accordingly. Here, it's just, it doesn't matter if you just use it a gallon a month or 200 gallons a month, you're paying $325.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. And that was a great question, Stephanie, thank you. We have any other questions? Oh, John?
Sorry, if I could just expand on my answer to the councillor regarding
Yes.
User fees for utilities.
Yes, please.
With your permission, Your Worship, I'd like to talk about curbside pickup for solid waste and recycling.
Yes.
So we are currently undertaking some work to determine if we should pick up garbage along the curb or recycling. And now that would be considered a utility because, not because it's legislated to be a user pay system, but because that's a physical service that the community provides, and we want that to be user-based. So for an example, in Battleford, we just negotiated a new recycling curbside pickup contract before I left. And the fee for that was $15, and I think it was 45 cents per quarter. So the actual cost for curbside recycling pickup in Battleford was just over $60 a year. So we're looking at doing that here as a utility so that should we decide to go ahead and provide that service would be a part of people's utility bill. And if they're currently on a septic system like I am in Westfield, I'd be getting my first utility bill in Westfield, and that would include the cost of having recycling and solid waste pickup at the foot of my driveway.
And you would pay for that whether you used it or not?
That's right. Because at the end of the day, it's a community benefit. And if it's the solid waste or if it's water or if it's the garbage truck, it has to drive past there. There's an extra cost not to stop than there is just to stop. So that's why everybody would pay for it. Yeah. So if people don't want to participate that's fine. It saves us wear and tear on equipment. We can do the route a little bit more. The weight of the vehicle would be less. We'd save money. And that's what I would tell people in Battleford. I had people who really push back against recycling. I said, that's fine, just don't take it to the curb. But I'm still going to take the money. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude about that.
No,
But
it's for the public good.
That's right,
It's
yeah.
for the public good.
Yeah. And we're looking at that. We're looking for 2023 implementation.
That's great.
Yeah, it is great. And it's the same with sewage. If you choose not to hook up with our sewage, you still
You still have to. Yeah, no, you have to hook up.
Oh, you do have to hook up.
Yeah, it's a public, I'm gonna ask the Works Commissioner to tell me, but at least in Saskatchewan, it's a public health regulation that if you're within X number of meters of a sewer line, you have to hook up. Yeah.
Your Worship.
Correct, and if you don't do it right yet, you're still getting the bill.
Yeah.
That was my point, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Your Worship.
you're paying for the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Councillor Falcon?
Your Worship, I'm really looking forward to when the next phase, whenever that may be, for extending the sewer system up Westfield Way. I'm either 2 or 3 houses away from the connection, but we know that I know there's a lot of increased costs that are going to have to occur, and we have to find the money over the years and work in partnership with other levels of government. But I fear the day that my septic system will fail, and I hope that that does not happen before we get sewer, because $325 a year is almost what I pay for annually or semi-annually to just get my own system cleaned up.
I have a question, so I've been on Bay-Westfield sewerage. I don't actually have no idea what it would cost to put in or replace the septic field. What would that cost approximately, Jim, you know?
I can tell you exactly. 23 years ago, it was $12,000 for me to do the required
If you run that
infrastructure.
through the Bank of Canada inflation calculator, it'd certainly be more than
$23,000,
that.
No, 12,000.
And you're paying 300
23,
plus
and that was
dollars.
23 years ago.
And you still pay 300 plus a year, have it pumped out?
Close to 200, but sometimes I do it every year, and sometimes 1 year I did it twice. I just plugged, so I didn't come back.
Sorry, how much?
12,000
17,000.
over 23 years,
And that was in 1988.
1990.
$21,000 now. However, I did hear someone say it's costing 40 to 50 to install a septic tank down.
Depends on the topography of the land and everything, but long story short, $325, I look forward to paying that. When and if it happens, let's hope it's sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Belkin. We have any more questions or comments on the motion? All in favor? Contrary minded? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 10D, subdivision bylaw 123, first reading by title. Subdivision bylaw 123. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a second? Thank you. I'm going to tie between Deputy Mayor Toole and Councillor Day, so I'll pick Councillor Day. And so this, I'm going to, Jim, actually. John, can you speak on the, or should we get David to speak on this specific bylaw?
Sorry, I was asking, what was your question?
So we just, we're opening up the discussion on subdivision bylaw 123, so I was hoping David
So,
is.
just I'll turn it over to David, but the primary reason we're amending this one is so that we can remove the frontage fees along Colonel Mays and remove a barrier for development there. The rest of the details I'll leave to our development officer.
So it sounds like a small amendment, really, just to take that out, but because it's under the Community Planning Act, we have to enact the bylaw in its entirety. That part for the infrastructure charge, that's been removed, so that's the bulk of the change. And as well, because it's under the new adopted act, we've got different section numbers.
Thank you, David. And so we have to repeal the old bylaw and do a new bylaw in its entirety because it's under the Community Planning Act. So I'm going to throw Councillor Balcom under the bus here and ask him to make some comments on this particular bylaw as it falls under his pillar. from our
Absolutely,
strategic plan.
Your Worship. The removal of the frontage fee on Colonel Mace, I'm going to be supporting immensely. It has been a psychological barrier, I believe, over the last 10 years for development from perception of outsiders. I know there are some developers who believe that frontage fee, from away, is on every front in our town. So that's a misconception because of rumors, etc. I would like to go on record that 10 or 12 years ago when Colonel Mace was built, it definitely was the right decision at the right time. We had to, the council of the day had to open up new land for development, for residential, for construction, etc. My understanding is it was tripartite funded, the three levels of government. But the imposition of the frontage fee at the time may have been the right decision thought by the council of the day, but it has contributed to the non-development by the general public, and I think this is a good first step for of this council to remove that fee for a fixed period of time, and see if the landowners and other developers will start to see that development can happen at a reduced cost.
Thank you, Councillor Falcon. Yeah, it is my, the removal is for a temporary period of 3 years. And that is to encourage development. So we're removing that barrier just to open up that area for potential development and potential development in the near future.
We've, over the years, tried to do other things so that, like it was, I think the first lot you sold, that you didn't have to pay the frontage fee, and that still didn't do anything. And no matter how much public education or communication we send out as to why we did that, because the town doesn't build roads. And so it was to recapture back the 1/3 we paid into having that street built. And it wasn't to capture the provincial or the federal portions, it was just the communities. And so I'm totally supporting 3 years. I think it would be a good scene, like to put it very bluntly, the developers and the landowners, put your money where your mouth is. We've taken it off, and if you either step up to the plate and next time in 3 years, if you haven't done anything, well, we've tried numerous ways.
Thank you, Councillor Day. Councillor McIntosh Lawrence?
So, the fee is being waived for 3 years from the time that this bylaw is amended, or from the time of purchase by a developer?
David?
Just make a point, it's being removed from the bylaw completely. The new Community Planning Act has new provisions that the old one didn't have. So there is development charges that can be enacted under the new act, so it just depends on where we get to in 3 years.
Okay. Thank you. John?
So we'll formalize this going forward so people understand there is a sunset on this. So the effective date we're hoping for is January 1, 2022. And then it's 3 calendar years. And then if they have a building permit and they complete the terms of that building permit in 2024, then so it technically may extend, but they have to have the application in, everything done before December 31st, 2024. But the building may not commence until 24.
Okay,
So
so
it's
the
not,
3 years starts when you pass this, not,
that's
not
right.
when,
That's right.
not when someone buys the land.
And it's not pure just a land transfer, that's part of it, there has to be a building permit
Yeah,
issued.
we don't want
Right,
shoveling of the land, we don't want churn, we want something new. And that's why the building permit is a requirement of that.
Yeah, and a 3-year permit is to put some urgency on it.
And just building on what Councillor Day said about the public communication of this, is this gonna be communicated in any way beyond this group, beyond council meetings, or are we gonna be doing anything?
Yeah, we will be, we still have to do a follow-up regarding that, the intent of council in 3 years is to re-implement the frontage fee.
Okay.
And here's the terms of which will be done.
So
So
we
we'll be
just wanna make
bringing
sure
that to
people know that
council in
there's that
December, sorry?
So we just wanna make sure people know that there is that.
Yeah, we will be doing
changes
that,
happen. Okay, good.
yes.
Do we have any further questions or comments on the motion? So I just wanna, highlight that this is sort of a landmark move for this council and in terms of changing the narrative around doing business in our town. This is a big deal. The frontage fees have been a point of contention and a point of misunderstanding and miscommunication for years. And for us to address this in the first 6 months of our mandate, it's quite an accomplishment. So thank you to council and staff for that. If we have any more questions or comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, council. Item 11. 11A is a good news item, as our CA likes to term them. Item A, Christmas parade road closures. The motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield authorize road closures on Narrapis Road between Route 102, the flashing lights, and Britton Road along Britton Road crossing the railway to the bridge to permit participation with the Christmas parade starting at 1 p.m. from the Four Corners, which is Britton Road and Campbell Road, on Sunday, December 12th, 2021, following provincial COVID-19 protocols requiring 2 meters distancing between groups and outdoor informal gatherings, with confirmation, approvals for notification to the RCMP, DTI, Ambulance NB, and the Fire Rescue Department to ensure continuity of emergency services. They have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Balcom. Second, thank you, Councillor Day. John, can you tell people watching a little bit about the Christmas parade that's going to happen?
It's going to be similar to the high school graduation parade that we had this past June, in which everybody who's in it will be in their vehicles, and then the vehicles will head, as I think it's south on Campbell Road, down to 102 and then over to Narrapis and then up. So the gathering point is at the Four Corners, what's known as the Four Corners. And so the police have been notified. I believe they have all their approvals. And Friday, when the package was sent to council, we hadn't heard yet from DTI whether or not they're going to be approving, because 102 is a provincially designated road, as is 177. So they needed their approval as well. And that came in, I think it was this afternoon, or it came in sometime today at any rate. So we should be good to go there.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to highlight that this is I believe that this is a parade put together by the Westfield and District Recreation Association, which are a very active recreation association in the LSD of Westfield West, and they do some really great community work that we value as their neighbors. They do swimming lessons in the summer and all of that kind of stuff. So I want to thank them for working hard and do something fun for the greater community. So if are there any questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried, thank you. Item 11B, local government reform white paper. The motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay continue to advocate for changes while permitted and determine if there are other aspects of the white paper that may be adapted to Grand Bay-Westfield in a manner not first considered. I have a motion. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. Have a second. Thank you, Councillor Bellmans. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on the white paper. As we all know, and as I referenced in my remarks at the beginning of the meeting, the Minister of the Minister of Local Government Reform dropped the white paper on local government reform on Thursday, and it's a very wide-ranging document, and it's changing basically the entire fabric of local government in New Brunswick. It affects us here in Grand Bay-Westfield in numerous ways, and some of the answers we have, and some of the answers we don't have as of this point in time, but it's going to be a very exciting couple of years. Our boundaries are going to be expanding, and with the regional service commissions having an expanded mandate, that's really going to change the way a lot of services are delivered, and more with a regional focus, with consistent oversight. Deputy Mayor Toole?
I just want to echo that we are excited, and I know all of us as a council have been excited about this. People have been asking us, and residents have been talking a lot and questions, and we want to reiterate, we don't really know a lot of the details yet beyond what's in the paper. Even the specific boundary is kind of beyond our grasp at this point in time, but I can tell you that we do know our staff are working very proactively in getting the information in and getting, I guess, our ducks in a row, so that when we do have all the information, we can effectively communicate. And I do want to reiterate to everybody too that this is, I think, a good news story for Grand Bay-Westfield, and we are excited to grow. We hope we can work with the province to get the answers for our residents and for the new residents, those who will be joining us. Again, our staff is proactive, they're excited, we're working together, we're working with the province from all areas, from communication to planning, to make this a great and smooth transition for everyone. And the mayor mentioned the Westfield District Recreation Association, who had been the ones behind the Christmas parade, and we're quite excited to work with groups like that who are quite energetic in the community. And so again, I think it's a good news story, and we're really happy, and we will be answering questions. The ones we can't answer now is because we don't know the answers to them, but we are working on that. So it'll take time, but we're confident that we can work with everyone.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. So Councillor Balcom, from a population growth and financial sustainability viewpoint, what are your comments on the white paper?
Specifically, Your Worship, as it applies to Grand Bay-Westfield and for the province, I'd like to answer both those. I agree very much that a reduction in the number of entities was necessary provincial-wide, and of course we're part of the province, and there's been an effect for us here in Grand Bay-Westfield and area. We all joined this council and put our names forth for growth and change, and the greatest component of that growth is our population. We have been stagnant for quite some time, 10, 15 years in our growth. Having neighbors like Westfield West, or a portion of the Westfield West LSD, they've always been good neighbors. To welcome them into hopefully our fold and as partners, equal partners, I'm looking forward to. That's going to open up an awful lot more land and increases our population overnight. When it does occur by around between 1,000 and 1,500, I think. So that's the start. That puts us over the magic 5,000 population mark. But more importantly, the area of the Westfield West, it is so in line with what our recreation plan for the town of Grand Bay-Westfield has identified. And I know personally, every year I take my canoe, and I, unfortunately only once a year, but I take it up, and I could take it up the Narrapus River and go down to the bridge. And it's just so relaxing. And I'm looking forward that maybe we can improve the access to both the St. John River and the Narrapus River, working with all the good volunteers from Westfield West, who hopefully will be part of our new community and larger community. So it's a start.
Thank you, Councillor Balcom. Councillor Day?
I'm sort of mixed. I'm too old, so I've seen amalgamations, and I feel for the people for Westfield. They are voicing they feel a loss. But at the same time, you can always look at things if your glass is half full or half empty. And I think there's a lot of synergy and a lot of potential by amalgamating together. And there's a lot of good people there. And I know quite a few, and they've been really community-minded people. And I think that just makes us all together. We're going to be able to do so much more than what we can separate.
Thank you, Councillor Day. Councillor Balcom? Balcom? I'll get it right. You got the Balcom, the Balcom's right.
Well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have them with us, and we're going to treat them fair like everybody else and be part of our community. So I'm happy to hopefully join with stuff, and it's all good, a good thing.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McIntosh Lawrence?
Yeah, I echo everyone's comments, and I think this is, perfect timing. We're a new council, we're excited, we're energetic, we're ready to work with them and make them feel welcome, and they've got a lot to offer, and I hope they're receptive to us welcoming them and open-minded to becoming part of Grand Bay-Westfield and whatever we will be called. And I agree with Councillor Balcom that they, on the recreation side of things, they have a lot to offer. They do the swimming lessons, and they have the Four Corners ice rink in the winter, and the river and the four-wheeler trails. And, so I think it's going to be a good thing. I don't think they're going to lose. They're going to gain. We're going to gain. They're not going to lose services like CAO said. They're looking at waste pickup and recycling pickup, so hopefully they won't lose that. It's just going to be all around good, I think.
Thank you, Councillor. one of the things that we need more answers on, and we need to continue to advocate for, are those, the variation in tax tools that will allow this transition to, I mean, they're development tools, but they're also tools to help bring, the rest of the new area in with us. We advocated for variation with it. We got some variation with our commercial tax rate. We have now the ability to use 1.4 to 1.7%. But we don't have that variation within the residential tax rate, which would, we could apply to areas like more rural and, and we could use it to sort of target the areas that we want developed more so than the areas that we would prefer to see developed later. John, are you able to give us more information and background on the tax tools that we're hoping for and will advocate for?
Yeah, I think, Your Worship, that the province is starting in the right direction by giving us some flexibility on non-residential tax rates. The intent is to, how do we develop those areas of the town that we want to encourage? For an example, Colonel Mace. My recommendation to council when that time comes would be that we adjust the tax rate on Colonel Mace to encourage development down to 1.4 rather than the full 1.5. And say somebody wants to develop a commercial entity in an area that we don't want, I can't think of one right now, but I'm sorry, then we would do that at 1.7. And I would encourage council that if someone comes to us and says, hey, St. John's only is going to tax us at 1.6, will you give us 1.4 if we come here? I would say to council, vote to defeat that motion. We do not want to have a race to the bottom. We want to have prudent economic development here that fits in with where the community thinks commercial development should go and where residential development should go. Tax tools are for our purposes. They're not a competition with other municipalities. I would agree, Your Worship, that I would have liked to have variable tax rates on residential properties. The province indicated we could have an inclusionary zoning bylaw. That would work best if we could have a different tax rate for that area because the adjustments that are made to have less affordable homes in the same neighborhood as much more affordable homes. So we would like that. We'd like to have a different tax class for condos and apartments because the types of services that are there may be a little bit different. So we would like to have that flexibility. The same thing, for an example, for residents in Westfield West. In Battleford, I had an agriculture class of taxes. I don't recall how large the farms were, or the ag buildings, but they were given a different tax rate than the rest of the residents in the commercial and industrial areas. They were taxed differently, they should be. What the land produces is entirely different than what it would be if you're a resident living in your home or if you had your own business there. So the province, they're on the right direction, Your Worship. However, I think when we continue to roll out and better articulate what the tax class or what property tax reform looks like, we need to keep in mind all these other tax tools that are available for us.
And hopefully in the post-reform implementation phase too, so we'll see some of these tax tools.
Let's hope so, Your Worship. Your Worship, can I speak to we want to welcome with open arms the new residents of Westfield West. And I was wondering if I could just speak to that for just a moment.
Yes, please, John.
So some concerns have been expressed by the residents in the LSD, and I'm sure it's not just our LSD that will be becoming our neighbors, but who are our neighbors, but more formally, but other LSDs. To be very clear that when the LSD is incorporated into the town, and the name is up for discussion as well, there will be an election for at least one person to join council here to make decisions on the budget, to make decisions on how money is going to be allocated. With our new Parks and Recreation Master Plan, I would suggest we have a lot more tools to make better decisions and better serve our residents by supporting the Westfield and District Recreation Association so they can maintain some of the stuff that they do. They're not in our area down in the south part. they have different needs over there. Let's ensure they have the flexibility, and by participating in the election, our new residents will be able to help inform those decisions and lobby. Second, the town does not collect taxes. We set a tax rate, but just as they paid their taxes to Service New Brunswick before, they'll be doing that again. So when it comes to protective services, specifically fire suppression and policing, there's no change. Currently, our chief and his department, they provide fire suppression services to all of Westfield West. That's not going to change. The same policemen who are just up on Narrapus Road, out of the detachment under Sergeant Luke Sampson, they're the same guys who are going to be continuing to patrol out there. There's going to be no change. And so they'll be doing that. And it's worth noting for residents that this council submitted a resolution to UMB that the policing service delivery be reviewed between all municipal associations and the province to determine what is the best way, what's the most effective way, most efficient way of delivering services. And our new residents in Westfield West should be happy for that. There's no change. We're looking at how can we do things better. Now, there's concern that, Westfield Village back in the day lost garbage collection. There's genuine concern that Westfield West may lose that. We're not looking to subtract that. We're actually looking to add that to the rest of our residents. That's what we're looking to do. And I would recommend the council when the time comes that depending how curbside collection is being delivered out there, that maybe want to continue that contract until we get online or we make some type of arrangement. But we need to work with the people out there to ensure that they have what they need and what they're used to. Going back to the Westfield District Recreation Association, with the new Parks and Rec plan, I would just encourage them. Say, look, this is what we've been going, come to us, make a presentation just like River Valley Community Center does for support, and then that's a budget decision. I don't see why we would just cut off money because they're from someplace different. We want to work with them, we want to welcome them. Now, is there concern about paying taxes for River Valley Community Center for the Greater St. John Regional Facilities Commissions? These are regional assets, and we as a community pay for them, and of course any taxes we collect from them would go towards those facilities. I would also suggest that perhaps they haven't considered that we also are obligated under a funding agreement with the Vision St. John, the Regional Growth Agency, to support that agency. And the province, one of the mandates that the province gave to the board and that they're working with is that the LSDs, as they are currently configured, should be contributing to that. So that was going to be coming anyways. So there's going to be no change except that, it was going to be coming, and some of those discussions had already started. And now, will taxes go up? There's a general consensus. The acting deputy minister and the minister have all said that the cost of delivery services and LSDs have been subsidized by the General Operating Revenue Fund of the province of New Brunswick. So that means we're paying twice and they're paying less. So that's being subsidized. And but what we will do is we'll just charge the cost of delivery. That's what we do here. What's the cost of delivery of the services? I would just like to put the caveat out there though, that here in Grand Bay-Westfield we have greater density. So that means that we can do more work for less because we have more people. So we're doing the work in a smaller area. There's a larger area to do out there. So even though, the same service here may cost a little bit more because there's less people per lane kilometer as an example to deliver. But until we actually do the numbers, we don't know. But that is the general rule of thumb, and I don't want to mislead them and say, oh no, we're not going to do that. But there are certain cost drivers that we have to respect. The land use plan. There are people out there who have animals. I'll ask the development officer to correct my next comments. Currently, you are permitted to have animals on your land here. I believe, and David, please correct me, it's 3.5 acres. Yeah, so if you have a minimum of 3.5 acres, you can have a goat, you can have whatever. What's the minimum size for a chicken?
Be the same, but you can have 6 chickens.
Sorry?
You can have 6 chickens.
Yeah, so 6 chickens now? Okay, so you can currently have 6 chickens on your property. So, unless they have an area smaller than 3.5 acres, there shouldn't be any change on their ability to keep animals. So that should all be there. Road maintenance is still the responsibility of the province. We don't have enough information to understand exactly what that is, Your Worship. And there hasn't been any word as to if snow removal is considered snow maintenance. But I'd just like to point out that the province does do road maintenance on River Valley Drive and Narrapus Road. We've invested as a community an extra $100,000 a year to ensure that we can maintain a certain standard with the road. That's been our common practice here. And then finally, the Four Corners with the Westfield District Parks and Recreation Association. Work with us, work with our new Parks and Rec Master Plan. We have different matrices to understand what's the best way to make a good decision for everybody. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to work with people, we're not here to work against anybody. So that's just a brief summary, Your Worship, of some of the concerns that I've understood to come from the LSD.
Thank you, John. That was a good summary. I know it's there's a lot of changes coming in to understand the solutions to people's concerns is important. And there's just, at the end of the day, there's a socio-economic flow of goods, people and services that come from that area to Grand Bay-Westfield. There's a community fit between the LSD of Westfield West and Grand Bay-Westfield. And it's like John said, we're welcoming everybody with open arms. And just in terms of the taxation, I understand if there are changes, the province is going to phase those in, so that there's not an initial change that is unmitigated. But that was a really good summary, John.
Thanks, Your Worship. I just want to point out, maybe this sounds pedantic, and I apologize in advance. The province is doing the amalgamation or the restructuring, I think is the technical term that they're using. At the end of the day, it's not going to be Grand Bay Westfield and Westfield West.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's going to be the town of blank. We will be a new community with the extra representative from our new area. We're going to have a new council. And so we're going to be one community, we're going to be a new community. And we really want to encourage people to understand that it's us versus them. It's not us versus them. It's us working together to understand what is this new community that we're building together.
That's right. It is. And it is going to be one community together. And we're neighbors now.
Mm-hmm.
And just we'll be neighbors together. So it's exciting, and I'm really looking forward to our new town of. We don't know. We actually have the opportunity to, until July of 2022, to change the name of our municipality to reflect who we are now.
And we would definitely want to get input.
Yes, and I know that there's some concern out there that the new part of our community is being represented by a council they didn't elect, but we have stated more than once now that there will be a representative, at least one, possibly two, around this table. So they will have, because we want representation from every corner of the municipality. That's important. We all want to work together and hear concerns from everyone.
We want representatives who constructively engage.
Absolutely, 100%, yes. Because we need to move forward positively together.
If I just may add on that, Your Worship, sorry to belabor the point. For the last election, I did a candidate orientation session, candidate information session, then we did council orientation. I will be offering the same again, Your Worship, for the prospective candidates. It's also a good opportunity. I learned a significant amount from everybody who ran. I think there's about 10 candidates ran, I don't recall anymore. As a staff, we built a spreadsheet. Yes, I know we're tentative over here sometimes. We built a spreadsheet about what their concerns were, what their desires were, and their goals. And we'll be undertaking the same process, Your Worship. And then we'll do the orientation, which includes what good governance looks like. And then, of course, the strategic plan review. And we want to ensure that their aspirations and that their needs are articulated, that they're heard. And then when it comes to the budget, how do we incorporate those into the budget? Just as we did for the last, how many meetings that we had where we tried to get the stuff into the budget for all of council, not just one part of council.
So when we do those orientation, they won't be done in isolation.
No.
We'll be doing it all together.
All the council,
Yes.
same as before, the leadership team and the whole of council. So maybe a refresher for some, but it'll be for everybody because it's a new council.
Yes, we'll be.
One person is a new council.
That's right, we'll be one council together, there'll be no splitting of the council.
Mhm.
We'll be one municipality together, one council together.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, that was very good. Because the thing is that everyone loves change, but they don't want to be changed. And when you think you have to be changed, you look at it as a loss instead of a potential to grow or to do something different. So I hope that the citizens out there tonight that are listening to that realize we didn't do this. This was chosen by the next level of government, but at the same time, they had to do something because of the effects of municipal government across this province. And we're looking forward to a new town and new possibilities. So we're hoping, very hopeful, that you will see it as a potential for your areas as well.
Thank you, Councillor Gray. We have no more questions or comments on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, Council. Item 12, bills for payment. The motion is that the Council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield authorize the November 22nd, 2021 bills for payment as presented in the amount of $67,381.97. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor McIntosh Lawrence.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Balcom. Have any questions or comments on the motion?
Yep.
Yes, Councillor Balcom.
Yes, through the mayor to the CAO. Item number 28, Irving Energy Distribution. I'm going to take a guess at this. I'm wondering if that is for the propane to run the emergency generator that was just installed recently at the center.
Your worship, to the councillor. No.
Okay.
But let me expand on the no. The generator is actually powered by diesel. And but what we do need during an emergency is to ensure that the bays and the fire department do not freeze. We need the equipment to be operational, and so the propane is used to provide radiant heat for that department. So it's separate from the system. Now, just to go on from that, that tank is checked on a regular basis, and then if it's low, then there's a sensor that provides an alarm or an alert directly to Irving Distribution Center, and then they'll come out and fill that up. How much that cost is? Well, we have a month of -40. That's going to be one cost. If we continue with 5-degree weather or something like that, that's an entirely different cost. So,
Understand. Part B to that question, Your worship, if I may, through the CAO. The new generator that runs on diesel, I know it's not part of this, but I'm just curious if we would be able to understand if we were out of power for a significant amount of time, how long would that diesel tank run the generator for the basic emergency equipment that we would have to use here? and I'm thinking EMO and the fire department.
So if I err, I'm gonna trust my fire chief or works commissioner or the rec director to jump in here. Can be filled up again.
Yes.
So we shouldn't really run out. We just fill it up again, that's all we do.
The reason I asked, I remember in the ice room, our pumps there with diesel did not work at the gas station because we didn't have
Oh,
power.
yes.
So, just a comfort level that if we have another,
It'd be a tanker truck though.
fantastic, okay. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Falcon.
Number
Councillor
48,
Bailie?
number 48, sewer backup.
Sewer backup, number 48, Strix Plumbing for $1,651.29. John?
Turn it over to the works commissioner, your worship.
Yes, and there was a sewer backup there on Compton Road. When the homeowner, I guess part of our policy is to back up, for the homeowner to find out where the problem is. And if it's on their side of the property line, then they're responsible, that they found it and they can repair it. If they find that it's out on the right of way, which is the road, then we'll reimburse them. So that's what happened there, is the property owner found that the property or the backup was out on the road, and that's the plumber that they hired, so we're paying him. So that's what that.
Did that answer your question, John? Do we have any other questions or comments on the bills for payment? No, there being none, all in favor? Contrary minded? Okay, your motion is passed. Thank you. Item 13, consent agenda. 13A, thank you letter, Envision St. John. B, thank you letter, Grand Bay Primary. C, thank you letter, Inglewood School. D, certificate of appreciation, the Royal Canadian Legion. E, UMNB 2022 membership letter. F, policing budget 2022, Government of New Brunswick. G, Town of Grand Bay-Westfield reports for council. H, letter, Minister Alain. The motion is that the council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive and file the consent agenda reports of November 22nd, 2021.
So moved.
So first to John, and second, Councillor Day, thank you very much. Have any questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried, thank you. Item 14, council reports. We'll start with Councillor Belkin tonight.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had the honor of attending the November 11th ceremonies at the, I should say, service at the Cenotaph. I'd like to just mention a couple of comments. I think the council's decision to accept the request from the Legion to close Glowstick Drive, and part of it was an exceptional decision. The weather was very good that day. It's the first time in my time living here that both the sitting MP and the sitting MLA were there at the same time. Keeping in mind, I guess, that they have large areas with a lot of communities having services, but just the stars lined up that day. And it was a nice ceremony, and the Deputy Mayor filled in very well for you on your short notice that you had to leave town for the worship. Also, I got to physically see with my own eyes our fire department in fine action. Most of the fire department were in their finest dress uniforms, about ready to march in the parade, and I think they may have gotten a couple of steps, but then, lo and behold, their alarms went off, and I'm told by the fire chief that there were not one but two real calls. And it gives me a great comfort to know that everything is taken into account in planning by the fire department. They had their fire trucks up parked by the medicine shop. Their fire gear were in the truck, and when the alarm went off, they probably got to the fire quicker because the fire trucks are right next door. But it just gave me comfort to know that that was well planned and pre-positioned, the fire trucks and everything. So to the fire chief, would you please pass on my personal thanks, and we'll hopefully see you there next year, okay, without a fire. I had the privilege just last week of visiting the manager and part owner of the new Redemption Center with her worship, and Mr. Gerald Beto gave us a wonderful tour. He gave us some other good information, and that was that there's, in addition to the Redemption Center, there are some other possibilities of other business opportunities that could be occurring, which is great. Momentum is fantastic. And he also told us, which warms my heart, that he received nothing but excellent service from our Works Commissioner and our Development Officer to make that happen. And I'd just like to publicly praise those two gentlemen, and their departments, of course, because that was really nice to hear. And finally, last week with a number of other councillors, I attended my first online session on diversity awareness, the topic being unconscious bias. It was very interesting and eye-opening. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Balcom. I watched the ceremony online in between flights. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend thanks to Air Canada switching my flight at the last minute, but there was a significant amount of roadblocks, and the event may not have happened. I was very happy that it happened, that it looked so well attended, and it was really fun. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Councillor Billman.
Nothing to report today.
Nothing to report today. Okay, thank you. Councillor Day.
I had a chance to attend the same workshop that Jim attended, and I think you two attended as well. And I have done diversity training before, but I was very surprised at all the new biases that they brought in and different ways of looking at things, and I thought it was well done. So trying to think, other than budget meetings and everything, it's sort of nice just to get a slowdown for the next little while. And we're getting ready for our Christmas programs. Stephanie's got us hopping. We've got a tree lighting coming. We've got that all arranged. And we're gonna have a tea for the seniors. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Councillor Day.
Don't wanna steal all her thunder because she does so much.
Well, I know she couldn't do it without you, so thank you.
It's fun.
Councillor McIntosh Lawrence?
So I also attended the diversity training, and it was eye-opening to realize how many unconscionable biases there are that obviously we don't think about because it's unconscious, like you just don't realize it. So that was very educational and eye-opening. Again, we all attended the special meeting last week to approve our budget. We had a River Valley Community Center board meeting last week, and also Councillor Day and I also attended the Fundy Regional Community Network meeting last week. We're still a new board. We're getting the kinks worked out. So we have our insurance in place, and we do have one program up and running called Dial a Ride, and we have offered numerous rides for residents to various appointments, grocery shopping, doctor's appointments, banking. So it's a very beneficial program that we're very lucky to have in our area, and the regional area actually. And as Councillor Day said, I have been planning, along with others, the Mayor's Tree Lighting, which will take place this Sunday, November 28th from 6 to 7 at Unity Park. So we're looking forward to a good turnout there. There will be music and live Christmas carols with Ryan Gautreau. We'll have a mailbox for the kids' Santa letters, so make sure you bring those. We'll have cookies, hot chocolate, and so that's from 6 to 7 on Sunday. And a poster will be going out on social media and on our website.
Thank you, Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. Deputy Mayor Toole.
A few minor doubles, I won't go into it. The main one I want to mention is, was mentioned by Councillor Balcom. I had the absolute privilege of laying the wreath on behalf of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield at the Remembrance Day ceremony, so that was an excellent experience. It was a very well done event. Also, I've been extremely pleased to be a part of this year's transition budget, passing that with all the other councillors and the mayor at the special meeting last week. And the diversity training from Dialogue New Brunswick was a highlight as well. That was learning about unconscious bias. I think it's a beginning of a great training because it comes in several sessions. We're going to a few of those. And one thing I can mention, which related to the local governance reform, is that I just found out I've been appointed to the Municipal Reform Committee of the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick. So that will probably be some more work and training on that. So I'm looking forward to that and to learning more about the government's further information on the white paper, so I'm happy about that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. I just want to highlight and thank my council for all of the extras that they're doing and all the work they're doing to forward our mission and to push our town forward. You know, I know the diversity training was, you know, hours out of your day, and that's really important because part of our strategic plan is that we want to be a diverse and inclusive community. So we have to walk the talk. So thank you all for taking the time to do that. It's just the beginning of a series. So there's going to be more training coming and more investment in your time, your brain power, and your heart power too, because it's sometimes hard to sit with the uncomfortableness of realizing that you do have a bias you didn't realize existed. So when that's pointed out to you, you know, that's not always an easy thing. But thank you, everyone. I know we've been pushing really hard with the budget, local government reform, and all of it, and you've been putting in a lot of extra hours and coming to a lot of meetings that I know you didn't plan on when you decided to run. But you've all stood up, you've shown up, and you've done the work, and I really need to thank you all for that. We have a really great team, and I appreciate all of you. I'll just make my council report short and sweet. We've already referenced that we passed our first transition budget as a team, and that was intense and exciting, and I'm looking forward to some of the changes that we can make as a result of that and how we can move forward with some of the tactical items from our strategic plan. Obviously, the white paper being released by the government was the overarching theme of the month, actually, but you know, when it actually got coming from what's going to be in it to, oh my gosh, here it is, and trying to digest what's in it, that's taken a lion's share of my time over the last little while. I was, as Councillor Balkin referenced, I was thrilled to join him on a tour of our new redemption center. You know, entrepreneurs are the lifeblood of any small community, and we need to support them. We need to vocally support them. We need to support them with our dollars. Every dollar that goes in the hands of a local business changes hands here in our community 7 times. So we need to support the businesses that are here, online, to our friends, and with our pocketbook. So thank you, Councillor Balkin, for suggesting that we go and visit that business, and we'll continue to do that and support other small businesses in our community. I did a few other things. I had the opportunity to tour Hestia House, which is a domestic violence facility in St. John, but the catchment area is not just the greater St. John area, but basically anywhere from Sussex to St. Stephen, where there's a need. Their capacity has been greatly reduced due to COVID. They used to be able to house 24 women and their families, and that's been reduced greatly to 8 because of COVID concerns. But it was, I actually used to live right beside Hestia House back in the day, so it was the first time I've ever been able to go in, and it was a very moving and informational tour. I had the opportunity to attend with some of our councillors and our CAO the Prude 40th anniversary and the diversity award dinner this past weekend, and that was really interesting. You know, Prude stands for Pride of Race, Unity, and Dignity through Education, and again that lines up with our strategic plan. And you know, again that walking the talk of wanting a more diverse and inclusive community. I had the huge honor of reading pledges at the Empty Stocking Fund this past weekend. That's something that I participated in and watched when I was little, and my children have participated in it. And the telethon brought in over $260,000 in pledges, so I think that's a record for the Empty Stocking Fund over the course of its existence. So to be able to represent Grand Bay-Westfield at that event was truly thrilling and an honor for me. It's very exciting. And I finished off that day by attending the inaugural game in my finery from the Empty Stocking Fund at the River Valley Community Centre of the New Brunswick Southern Men's League inaugural game for the River Valley Rock, and they rocked it with a victory. So that's a little taste of what I've been up to for the last couple of weeks, and I know I say this every time, but I'm just really thrilled and honored to be able to represent all of you here in Grand Bay-Westfield, and now the expanded Grand Bay-Westfield, and thank you for putting me in this position. And that's it for me. That's council reports. Item 15, business arising from committee of the whole. There being none, we'll go right on to item 16, which is adjournment. And the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield adjourn the meeting at 8:21 p.m. Thank you, Councillor Day. We have a second. Councillor Bellmans. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, everybody.